I bought an untested PS3 Slim bundle from Goodwill for $110, and in this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at everything and see if it works. Alright, so in this box, we have a PS3 Slim, a couple controllers, I think a headset, and some games. 110 is like a decent price if everything works, but of course, it's Goodwill. Everything is untested, so let's see what's inside. Alright, open up the box. Got some standard packaging here. We've got our stack of games all rubber banded up. Some more packaging. We've got a couple of controllers down here. And we have a headset here, which doesn't look too bad at first glance. We'll take a closer look in a second. Also got a couple of cords here. But let's go ahead and take a look at the games here. We got Dirt 3 on top. We've got Black Ops 2. We got this PlayStation 3. I think that's like an online disc. We got Battle Royale, MLB 15, Tiger Woods, Madden, FIFA, Bioshock 2, and Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. I don't think any of those games are crazy valuable. A couple of them might be like 10 or 15 bucks. And of course, like I showed you a second ago, we got this headset. I don't know which one this is called. This is not the Pulse 3D. The Pulse 3D is like a PS5 headset. Is it the headset for the 500 million edition? So yeah, guys, I just looked it up, and this indeed is the 500 million edition PS4 headset. You can tell because it's got like a translucent blue to the ear cup right here. It's actually in pretty solid condition. I looked it up. I could probably sell it for like 60 or 70 bucks. They don't sell very often on eBay. But it is a very cool headset. Let's take a look at these controllers here. So this one right here is a 6-axis, very dusty and dirty, and you can tell that the left analog stick is kind of shifted right there, so that's not ideal. Of course, we'll test it out. We got our second one here, and this one is just about the same amount of dirt, very dusty and dirty. Like it's been, I don't know, maybe this is dust and dirt from sitting around in a warehouse. And this indeed is a DualShock 3, so that's more valuable. All the buttons feel good at first glance, and the joysticks they're solid. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at this PS3 here. And at first glance, it's certainly not awful or anything. Of course, it's from Goodwill. They don't clean or test anything. It's got some marks on top. It's pretty dusty down here. That's all stuff we can clean up. Looking here on the bottom, it does appear that the warranty seal is still intact, so that's good to see. We still have all 4 rubber feet. That's awesome. I love when the rubber feet are still intact. Just makes it for a much nicer console experience. Now looking at the back here, HDMI port at first glance looks okay, which is the first thing I'm concerned about. A lot of PS3s have broken HDMI ports somehow. Now I did glance at these games, but I want to open a couple up and see what the discs themselves look like. I can't talk. Oh man. All right. So here on the bottom, pretty dusty, but I don't see any scratching. Yeah, that one looks pretty good as well. They have some fingerprints and some dust, but those can be wiped off. Let's go ahead and put that to the side, and let's go ahead and plug the console in, and we'll cross our fingers that it works. So guys, if you like my videos here, make sure to check out my website down below. It's called jrobgaming.com, and I've had a newsletter sign up for quite a while now, and in the past I've kind of used it mostly for discount codes for my website, but I'm transforming it now into an actual weekly newsletter where I share interesting gaming content such as, overpriced weird consoles I find, funny gaming content online, and just anything else that I think is interesting. Alright, we do have a red light. That's good to see. You can barely see it because it's covered in dust. Hit that power button. Got a green light. Free games? No. Dang it, man. I haven't got any free games from Goodwill recently, which is a bit disappointing. Hopefully it boots up. Sometimes PS3s are a little weird when they, or not. There it goes. Usually they're a little bit weird because the display settings on PS3 are kind of funky. But let's go ahead and see if this controller works. It works, yeah. Nice. Hey, and we got a user on here. We know it wasn't tested for sure. We got Les, L-E-S-S, and user 1. Let's go with Les, see what he's got on here. That's like my favorite part about Goodwill consoles is you boot them up and you see what previous stuff was on here. Got a message box. Oh man, I can see this. I don't know if I should do that or not. I mean, there's nothing special. Just standard messages and stuff. Please help me. Come to Twin Rocks. I shot my horse in seconds after you kill the horse fast. Okay. Any questions? Hold on. What is this? Board executive Marlon Young. Due to all the spamming, we are at PSN giving out another welcome back package that includes Call of Duty. That looks like spam. This is hilarious. Game invite. These are all from 2013, so this console hasn't been played in forever. It's just so interesting to see the history of these. What games we got on here? We got Bulletstorm. Bulletstorm is downloaded already. Nice. But let's check out the game data utility here, and we can see what they played. So we got Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 in 2017, so that appears to be the latest game played, which was about 6 years ago now. Actually, almost 6 years on the dot. Mortal Kombat, Battlefield 4, Bioshock 2, Madden 15, GTA 5, Call of Duty 4, Batman, Red Dead Redemption, Call of Duty Black Ops, a bunch of good games here. Cabela's Outdoor Adventures, my favorite of all time. Let's see what system software we're on. It's probably pretty recent. And when I say recent, I mean like 2013 recent, which is recent for a PS3. And yeah, we're on 4.81, which is like one of the most recent ones. And we got a 160 gigabyte hard drive here. That's nice to see. And nice. Well, let's just go ahead and put a game in, see if the game works. Disc tray had no problem pulling the disc in. Yeah, sounds pretty normal. Okay, so I think I'm finding my first problem with this controller. The start button does not work. when I'm trying to press start to start this game. Won't work. All right, let's try out the second controller. This is the PS3 controller that looks a little bit better. It's the DualShock 3, the one that's got Rumble Pack in it. Yeah, that works. Okay, cool. Oh, wait, hold on. This controller is working, but it's jacked up because it is selecting random things. It's automatically going to the right. Nice. That's awesome. Okay, now it's working. I mean, it's doing something though. It's like I'm not pressing anything and it's going the wrong direction. It's like it's trying to do the attack button. But anyways, the game is working. Let's go back to the home screen. And I'm going to eject this disk, make sure functionality works here. And let me connect up to the internet and see if that works. But yeah, overall, the console seems to work fine so far. Internet works, console turns on and works, the games work. Unfortunately, the controllers are kind of crappy, but we'll try to mess with those later. But let's go ahead and turn this console off, open it up, and see what the inside looks like. So I know I didn't test out the headset yet. I got it charging up right now. We'll test that out later, but let's go ahead and open this console up. It's been quite a while since I've opened a PS3 Slim, but if I remember correctly, it's pretty easy to do. You just take off some screws in the back, and you're good to go. Let's go ahead and take this warranty seal off, which it always pains me a little bit to take those off, but there it goes. Add to my collection over here. So we'll start by taking this hard drive out, see what it looks like. Yeah, it's got some dust on it, not too crazy. We can clean that off pretty easily. Now let's go ahead and take off the rest of these screws here. One thing that's kind of annoying about the PS3 Slim is when you have it turn on its back and you're trying to take screws out, it just rocks back and forth. There we go. All right. Top comes off nice and easy. No stupid clips like the 360 has, and it's pretty, that's pretty dirty. I don't know, it's definitely not cigarette smoke, which is good, but yeah, it's definitely real dusty down there. All right, power supply is out. Honestly, doesn't look quite as dusty as the rest of the console. Definitely very hot, and yeah, the fan is pretty dang dirty. I've seen worse, of course, but we'll clean that up. I was trying to pull this motherboard out, and there was a screw that I couldn't find, and it was because it was hidden by dust. The joys of dirty consoles. All right, there we go. Now the motherboard lifts up nice and easy. Now we can take a closer look at this heatsink, maybe. I got dust flying around everywhere, and it's definitely like, it's not caked in dust, but it's definitely a bit filthy in there. And now looking at the bottom here, definitely not desert PSP level, but we got some clumps of dirt all around the edges and the front here. Now, of course, what we've all been waiting for is the thermal paste reveal. I'm very curious to see how much is left. We obviously know it hasn't been replaced since the console's not been open, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. All right, got this back piece off here. A little bit of dust under it, but not too crazy. Got a nice clump right there. Now let's flip over to the other side, and yeah, there it is. Oof, yeah, not so great. Definitely better than a 360, but it's like thermal paste is completely missing a good, third of this chip right here, and same over here, just missing that. Got a little bit left right there, and then on this side, on our heatsink side, we've got same thing. There's just like a giant portion of the chip just being missed. So now let's go ahead and clean this console up. We'll blow it out, clean up the motherboard, clean up all the components, replace thermal paste, put it back together, and I'll be selling it on my website down below at jarrobgaming.com. I also want to open this controller up actually next and see if we can get that working. So I think I figured out the issue on the second controller. That's the one that was doing sporadic button presses. So what I did is I opened up the controller, I blew it out with my air duster. There really didn't seem to be that much dirt or anything inside, but what I found is we have this little, let's see if we can get it focused. We have this little strip of contacts that touches those contacts right there, and that's kind of how it transmits the button presses to the PS3, I believe. And what I did is I used some isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip and just cleaned those pads off there and cleaned those pads off there and put it back together. After I did that and I plugged it back in, it seemed to work without any weird button presses. So what I'm going to do is put it all back together, and we'll try it again once I have this PS3 back together. I tried it on a different PS3 that I have, but I do think that fixed the issue. And while I have this controller opened up, I'm going to go ahead and clean the crevice basically between the two parts of the controller. So like right there, the big crack tends to get a lot of dirt in there. This one's actually not bad at all, but I'll just give it a little clean. All right, so my final conclusion here is that this controller, basically there's not enough pressure pushing down on this anymore for those contacts that I showed you earlier to touch consistently. If you look in the back of the controller here, you can see a little foam pad, but it's pretty far depressed, like it's kind of worn out and that sort of thing. So I'm going to put a little tiny piece of foam in here to basically give it some more pressure so it'll actually touch. So indeed, that fix did work. I put a piece of foam inside of the controller, put it all back together, turned it on, plugged it in, works no problem now. Let me just clean it up, and it'll be good to go. And then we'll open up the next controller and see if we can figure out the issue there. All right, I have the second controller apart here, and this one is just a bit grimier in general on the inside. And what I noticed here is if you remember on this one, the start button didn't work. You can kind of see some, I don't know if that's corrosion or just dirt or something on that pad right there. So that's probably why it's not working. So let's just take some isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip, and see if we can get that cleaned up. All right, guys, so a couple other things about the controllers. The first one I fixed up, the DualShock 3, looks really nice now. I cleaned it up. The second one I fixed up, where I fixed the start button, looks a bit nicer now. It is just more of a beat-up controller. It's got like a crack right here, and it's only a 6-axis. And this indeed does have some stick drift. I tested it in Modern Warfare 2. It's not terrible stick drift, and it's on the left stick instead of the right stick. Honestly, it's one of the controllers you probably give to like your brother or your friend to give yourself a competitive edge. But in my experience, you're better off just sticking with this OEM stick with a little bit of stick drift instead of trying to desolder this one and replace it with a third-party part, because it's probably gonna end up just as bad or worse. And yeah, I went ahead and started blowing out the whole console piece by piece. We got the motherboard, looks pretty good so far. I do need to replace the thermal paste, of course, but like just look at the casing just looks a whole lot better just from blowing it out. I have not even wiped it down or anything yet. Like you can still see a little bit of dust and stuff there, but all the big clumps are gone and that sort of thing. Also went ahead and cleaned up the fan as well. The problem with fans is obviously it's hard to get in all the nooks and crannies, but you can see that looks like a whole lot better than it did. I decided to open up the disk drive as well, just to check and make sure it's not dirty in there. The outside looks good now because I cleaned it off. The inside looks pretty good. Honestly, I'll probably give it one wipe down, but I don't want to blow air into here because I don't want to blow dust onto the laser, and the laser was working fine. So we're not going to do too much here. I'm just going to wipe it down real quick. And usually I use baby wipes on stuff like plastics and things that are not going to be touching circuit boards. So this right here, I'm just going to wipe a little bit of this surface dust off, and there really wasn't much to start with, and it should be good to go. We'll let it dry, of course. And guys, look how much nicer the heatsink looks just from a quick blowout with the air duster. Before it had all kinds of like dust and dirt in there. Now it just looks nice and clean. Now let me just show you what I do with console plastics. So what I like to do is take, again, a baby wipe and just wipe it down. I'll do it a little bit more vigorously, off camera. It's kind of hard with when I'm holding it out like this, but essentially I'll wipe it down, and then after I wipe it down, I immediately take oh yeah, look at that. Look how dirty that was. It didn't even look that crazy dirty on the outside, but it got a ton of dirt off. All right, finally got this wipe, and it's not really pulling any more dirt off. So now I take my microfiber cloth, and I'll just wipe it back and forth, and you can see it basically leaves the whole console streak free. Looks nice. There's a little bit of streaking, but it'll like fade away. And especially, it works very nicely on glossy surfaces because those get streaks like crazy. And again, it's not perfect, but it's it's a whole lot better than just leaving it out to dry and leaving streaks all over it. So yeah, now you can see the side and the top after I wiped it with my microfiber cloth looks very nice now. So I have most of the individual pieces cleaned up now, and now we need to replace the thermal paste. So first we'll start by removing the old thermal paste, which I'll show you how I do this. There's a few different ways you can do this. First of all, I usually just use 91% isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip or cotton balls and rub it off. Now that works for some consoles. There's other consoles where you have thermal paste that's really caked on. Yes, it'll come off pretty easily here. But there are some consoles where you need something stronger than isopropyl alcohol. So I think it's made by Arctic, or there's some thermal paste company that makes like a cleaner that I have that you put it on here and leave it for a minute or two, and it really makes it easy to get off. But this stuff right here is coming off pretty easy, so I'll just use isopropyl alcohol today. All right, so you can see there on that one, I got pretty much all of it off. Doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but pretty close. And now we'll do this one. Both of those are cleaned off pretty nicely now, and let's go ahead and clean the chips now. All right, these two chips look good now. Let's go ahead and apply thermal paste to both of them, and then we'll get the console put back together. So the thermal paste I've used for the last decade is Arctic Silver 5, and what I've always done in the past with PS3s back in the day is I put like a pea size in the middle of both of them, then put it back together. Now I'm gonna try Danny's method, my editor, which is putting like a little X across these. So if you don't like that method, blame him, not me. All right, so this is how I'm doing a thermal paste on this console. Go ahead and argue in the comments if you don't like this, but it's certainly better than the factory stuff that was on there.
All right. That's enough of this hoopla. I don't know why he's trying to badmouth me here. He's trying to set me up for failure. He's sicking y'all against me. I will not stand for it. I did not tell him to put these dinky little half-measure X's on the chip. I said I put big X's from corner to corner, covering the whole chip like a sensible human being. I don't know what's wrong with him. He says the little pea-sized thing in the middle of the chip. I don't know, man. You guys can choose for yourselves which one of us is right, but I think you guys know who to really get mad at here.
So thermal paste is applied, console is part way back together. I'm gonna go ahead and put the whole thing back together, and then of course test it, reset the console, make sure everything's good to go. Then I'll list out my website down below at jrobgaming.com. I'll probably do a big bundle with the controllers and the games as well. And then, by the way, this PS4 Pro $1 million headset, $500 million headset, it does work with the aux cord, but I'm missing a dongle, so I can't actually test the Bluetooth functionality right now. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know down below if you like these types of videos where I fix and repair and clean up stuff like this. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.